This is an interesting lock. It's a Royal Guardian EX. I think the EX matters because all of the other Royal Guardian videos I've seen, I think there's only 3 of them, are quite different to this one. So yeah, I think this might actually be the first time this has been picked on video. I got this lock from Red Wanderer in the LPU raffle. It's taken me a while to get around to picking it, but now that I have, we all get to see what's inside. It does have trap pins, and that's pretty interesting, but aside from that, not particularly difficult if you can avoid them. So having said that, let's see if I've jinxed myself. To avoid the trap pins, which are on 3 and 4, sort of just make sure I've poked them before I pick the other pins. Okay, well, I think that's a false set, not a trap. So I will try and demonstrate what the trap looks like. Oh no, we're open. Okay, so not actually that hard. Let's see if we can get into the trap, and then I'll show that you can actually get out of it without having to gut. Because I believe the other versions of Royal Guardian, that wasn't trapped. Yeah, the only way to recover is to gut it, but in this one, that is definitely not the case. It's always hard to deliberately fall into the traps. Try and not accidentally pick pins 3 and 4. Alright, there we go. So we are trapped. Now, the way I get out of this is sort of unpick pins 3 and 4, and you saw a little bit of core movement there. That might be enough, and then I can sort of like insert the key, jiggle it, and okay, that wasn't enough. So let's see if I can unpick it another little notch. You watch, now that it's on video, it's not going to work. There we go. So slight bit rotation back. There we go. It is untrapped. So let's have a look at what's inside. So there's 2 more screws that go in the back here, but I don't put them in just because they're annoying. They go in a long way. Probably could have picked this outside the housing, but when I tried, the tailpiece kind of got bound up on the vise, so it was a bit annoying. Alright, now this is the back of the core. It's got this little retaining pin down the bottom. I don't really know what that's there for other than maybe stop the core from sliding forward too far. If I remove it, I don't think it changes anything. So we'll put that here. And the housing, nothing really exciting about that. It's just a solid bit of metal. It's got some heft to it. Now, this is the interesting bit. So if we look down the side, we've got these notches, and the back one, there's a ball bearing that is used to just index it, like it notches in. And also when you go quarter turn this way, it gets stuck at the bottom. I don't know why that's there, except maybe, as we'll see soon, in pin 2, well, on the side here, there's a little like passive pin. You can see it maybe just pop up as I remove the key, because at the moment it dropped into this notch on the key, and as I move it back and forth, you can see it pop out. So that's, I guess, just key control. You know, the key's not going to work unless you've got a dimple there. Obviously, you can get past that by having dimples in all slots, but also, I don't know, maybe if you pick it 90 degrees, that's going to like fall in, but it doesn't really do anything. Like I had the lockout apart and was playing around with it, and yeah, it doesn't trap you there or anything like that, so not sure what's up with those holes. The top cover does slide off, and I'll cut it from the top. Just because it's slightly easier. So I have left a little gap there. It was harder to get off the first time, but hopefully what I need is a screwdriver. Like a flathead one, but this one might just do it. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we'll try and do this without launching springs everywhere. Where'd my key go? Okay, so let's look down there. I don't know if you can see that, but it is like a split pin. It's like a pin in pin, but split. So I'll try and get it out. These top pins are pretty much, I think, identical to the ones in the other version of the Royal Guardian. So nothing too exciting. There we go. So let's have a look at this. It's like a pin in pin, but the inside pin is actually sort of like a, oh, you can't see that. Come on, focus. Yeah. So it's like a split pin in pin. I think this does make the feedback, or at least the way it picks, change quite drastically depending on the rotation of that. Like if you're shearing up against one side of the inside of the inner pin versus on the side of the outer pin, I think it picks differently. Because sometimes, like you saw me pick that then, was quite easy, but there have been other times where it's actually been a bit of a challenge. And the only thing I can think of is that those pin in pins like change the way it picks fairly dramatically if you get in a certain orientation. Pin 2, same deal with one of these guys. Nothing different about that one. Pin 3 is where it gets, of course, is where it gets interesting. So on top, we've got this T-pin guy. It's like a spooled T-pin, and underneath that is this little wafer. And I'll give you a close-up look at this guy, because there is actually a taper on one side. So on the top side there is slightly tapered, bottom side's flat. I think you can also tell that the top side has like a little dot on it, just like a machining mark in the center. So they use that to help orient it. I'm not 100% sure, because when I first got to this, I couldn't keep this in position and it just jumped out. But I think the tapered side goes up because that's the same orientation as the key pin. Like, that's my guess. I don't actually know, but that would make sense. I'll show you the key pin when we get it out. Now in 4, I'll just dump this out because it's the same as 3, and 5 is the same as 1 and 2. All right, time for the insides. Obviously don't need a follower anymore, but I need to be careful because there's things down the side that are going to jump out. Most annoyingly is this ball bearing right at the end. Okay, gotcha. Drop him out, ball bearing and spring, and then here we've got this little pin there, and here's the key control pin. So it sits in there and interacts with the little dimple on the side of the key. Key pins, nothing crazy. I think they're just like fairly standard pin-in-pin key pins. In fact, I think they might be basically identical to the multi-lock ones. I don't actually have any multi-lock to compare them to, but I do have a like a keyless MT5, and I think this would fit in there, but I haven't gutted it to like actually get it in because there's no slider track, so it only slides in a little bit. But yeah, this is the plug. So here's our little trap grooves. So you can see the T-pins are going to go across and fall in that. But as you tension backwards, this guy is going to like just ever so slightly overlap with the chamber. So you can have a key pin in here, and that's just enough to nudge it back up and you can get out of the trap. So not super effective at trapping you. Let's look at the tops of these key pins. And yeah, you see they've got a bit of a taper on them, which I believe matches up quite well with the not master, but trap wafers. So they're just the little chamfer on the edge there. I don't know if that's going to show up at all, but yeah, they look similar enough that I would guess that that's the orientation that the wafers are meant to go. But also I haven't really determined if it makes any difference to how much it traps. I was just looking at the way the key sits. So I guess the bottom, you could have additional key control in the bottom that would interact with these ones. Where's this little guy? You could put him in like that. I guess you'd have to have a longer one, but if there was a dimple in the key, you could... Ooh. Huh. That's the retaining pin from the back. Maybe that's a second use for what that does, but it's hard to know because like I did notice the little notch on these. They look very similar. So maybe. Yeah, other than that, don't know if there's anything else I need to say about it. Maybe if I had to give it a belt ranking, like as far as picking goes, like even blue feels too easy sometimes. Maybe it's fair because of the trap pins and the fact that you can escape them, but yeah, I guess other people would have to have a go and see if there's in any significant ways. But there's a close-up of the pins. You can see these split pins. Yeah, so that's the Royal Guardian EX.